Let's watch this Optimus video.
Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the new breaking news. President Trump has just confirmed that the United States has bombed Iran, which is something that we've been wondering about over the last few days. For even longer than that, there's been the back and forward between Israel and Iran going on. They've been kind of bombing each other, hitting each other in hospitals, military sites,
Shit's been wild.
The Israelis have also obviously hit the nuclear facilities and government agencies and stuff in Iran. But this is pretty major news because the United States has been kind of mulling over whether or not we want to get involved for a couple of days now. Just even a few hours ago, before all of this happened, we were still, I guess, under the impression Trump had given everybody 2 weeks. He was like, gonna wait 2 weeks and then decide if we were gonna end up doing anything, which, I mean...
Yeah, and then he fucking blew them up.
Obviously, this wasn't going to take 2 weeks to determine. By that point, at least...
No, it was like the day after he said that. This was yesterday. Fucking yesterday. He blew up, I think it was 3 separate... Fuck, I can't speak. He blew up fucking 3 separate nuclear facilities, I'm pretty sure. And none of the planes got shot down, none of the missiles got shot down, and none of our soldiers died. It's actually insane.
What we've seen so far, if another 2 weeks of just Israel alone was getting involved in this entire thing, it probably would have even been effectively over. I mean, Israel's been pretty successful so far in their strikes alone, but obviously one of the concerns was that to hit some of these nuclear facilities like in Natanz, which are deep underground, they would need the United States to use like bunker-busting munitions that can basically penetrate the ground enough to actually hit these places and do effective damage. So that ended up happening today. President Trump issued a statement on Truth Social that is now being widely distributed basically everywhere. We have completed
Also, the video that he's showing right now is like, this is live footage from Iran, just so you know. Like, this is exactly what's going on right now. This is actual real life footage.
On Truth Social that is now being widely distributed basically everywhere. We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran's airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, obviously, interesting because, I mean, are we really going to talk about peace right now, considering, well, Iran has already issued the statement that they're not going to negotiate while they're being struck. So that was when just Israel...
You know, that's fair enough. I understand not wanting to talk about peace when you're being bombed. That does make sense.
Israel alone was bombing them, when it was just basically the United States was just complicit and funding Israel to do it and giving them the munitions. But according to this now, as of just a few minutes ago, I mean, I literally dropped everything I was doing to record this video, the United States has now carried out direct attacks. So these are not Israeli attacks. These are US B-2 aircraft that flew into Iran. Obviously, they were probably undetected. I mean, the B-2 is literally a stealth bomber, so it probably just flew in and got out with no sort of issue whatsoever. Now, I think we kind of knew that this was coming, at least a little bit. We've kind of seen over the last few days, like I said, Trump was saying he was going to give it 2 weeks to determine whether or not he actually wanted to do something, but we all knew that that wasn't the case. I mean, 2 weeks would have just, like I said, at the rate that it was going, Israel would have probably had things mostly wrapped up. At least as of now, it appears Israel has taken out like half of the ballistic missile launching capability of Iran. They have established airspace superiority. But now, obviously, the thing...
I've pretty much heard all of this already. The only news that I am understanding right now is that, you know, the US got involved and did it themselves as well. Which most of us already know that, so what's this video?
things to think about, right, are number one, how effective was this? I mean, we don't really know as of yet. Even in this tweet here, I mean, you know, Trump does like the general hoorah thing or whatever, but it's not like he says these sites were completely demolished. I mean, he says, yeah, we used a lot of munitions on the one site for Doe. We hit all 3 of these. The planes are already out of the airspace. But ultimately, like, how effective was this? Now, like I said, the United States...
That's the thing. We still don't know. And, like, I'm pretty sure he said it was completely obliterated, but, you know, where's the fucking proof of that? Because we do kind of need to know this information. If they were close to getting nukes, they're probably working even harder now if they have the ability to still build their nuclear arsenal. So, us as American citizens, after getting involved in something that didn't really have anything to do with us, technically, we should probably know, for 100% fact, that this shit is blown up.
Was the ones that were going to be able to do this kind of strike. I mean, Israel just does have the munition capability to carry this out. So they really wanted America to do this on their behalf and also to kind of get involved directly in this conflict, because then they have the backing of the most powerful military in the world in this conflict. And on top of that, they have them directly involved, which we are now. So Iran has already pledged that if the United States does get involved in this entire thing, you know, we carry out any bombings or anything like that Iran will respond by launching missiles at U.S. bases in the region. Obviously, there's a lot of soldiers in the Middle East in places somewhat close to Iran. Now, like I said, it seems like a lot of their missile launching capabilities and their general military have been struck pretty significantly by the attacks from Israel already. So it seems like the possibility of like a full-scale attack or whatever is somewhat muted, at least a little bit. Now, not to say that they can't respond at all. That is possible, I think. I mean, we are probably going to see them try to respond in some way. That was pretty much what they already warned they were going to do. And so in the coming hours, maybe even in the coming days, we're probably going to see some sort of attempt to retaliate against the United States. Apparently, one of the like big concerns that has also been shared, at least in the days before all of this, is that Iran possibly was holding back some of their missiles just in case that the United States joined in. That way they had some like munitions ready to go for that contingency so that they could fire. So I guess we'll have to see if that's going to happen.
Wait, do they even have planes though? Because I know they're shooting missiles from the ground, but I haven't heard anything about them shooting missiles from planes. So if they don't have planes, they cannot hit the US. There's no way. The missiles will not go that far. Y'all need to understand how far away Iran is from the United States. It's like on the other side of the entire earth, basically.
And when, if that's going to happen. But obviously, you know, if they fire missiles at U.S. bases and they kill anybody on these bases, the United States is probably going to respond again. And at that point, they may full-fledged start bombing out like all of Iran's military sites and stuff like that. So there is the possibility that this escalates. And that was the same concern that I shared in my last video talking about this subject. I think this is exactly what everybody has been worried about here. Now, the thing is, in a direct conflict with Iran, the United States obviously were way more powerful. We pretty much would be able to win that conflict, but me and other people, our whole thing is we just don't want another generation of Americans wrapped up in a forever war in the Middle East. And
And I feel that. I understand that. But we can't just let somebody say they want to kill us and then actively be building up weapons to do so, and not do anything about it. That's what I don't understand about the people that are like protesting for peace against Iran. Like, they are not gonna stop. They've made that very clear. So, if we leave them alone, and they build up nuclear weapons, and they throw them at the United States, we're fucked. Like, what else is there to do?
Right now, the worrisome view everybody has about this thing is the possibility of it spiraling is definitely there. Now, granted, it is also entirely possible that this whole thing somehow fizzles out and, you know, maybe we get lucky or whatever. Maybe Iran doesn't respond, or if they do and they fail or something, right? But there is the possibility that this could turn into another massive situation where the United States is spending months, if not years, fighting another war in the Middle East. We're already dealing with shit going on in Ukraine. We're already dealing with all this shit going on, the possibility of China looming and whatnot, right? We've been hearing all of these different things for years, right? That the United States has to be worried about. That doesn't even include any domestic issues or anything actually happening here on the home front, but we have all these different things going on, and to be wrapped up in something like this, it's just another one of these wars that would demoralize the American public, no matter what the outcome is. I mean, I think people are just dealing with war fatigue altogether, right? Now, obviously, Trump has been talking about how he doesn't want Iran to get the bomb. United States intelligence, even a few months.
If we get nukes thrown at our country, I don't think people will be dealing with war fatigue anymore. I don't know how else to say this.
Ago was that Iran wasn't going for the bomb. They didn't have any sort of program for it. Israel, they begged to differ. They basically said, yeah, they are possibly going to be to the point where
I don't think y'all understand. Iran was only allowed to have 3% enriched uranium for, like, everyday use for their society. They have 61% out of 100. They were building a nuclear bomb. It's very obvious.
where they could make a new
And their whole thing is death to America, death to Israel, and death to England. Do we all want to get nuked? I don't really think so.
nuclear bomb within days, right? Or weeks. And so it became like this massive concern or whatever, right? But that's basically where we're at with all this, right? We're sitting here now, the whole thing we're going to be wondering about up until we see the headlines is what the fuck happens next. And I think that's the thing that I and many other people like the least about this, right? Is I just really hope that like our service people are safe, you know what I mean? None of them are the ones making these decisions, you know what I mean? These guys who are stationed overseas and whatnot, just making a paycheck. They're not the ones who are like sitting there at the fucking situation room making these calls and whatnot, right? So to see them face the blunt of the retaliation or whatever is just, it'll be such an unnecessary death if any Americans die because of this bombing. And I mean, if Iran does retaliate and they launch missiles at our bases, it is very much so possible that Americans die because of this. And even one American, it doesn't matter. You know, people always say, oh, if they fucking, you know, shoot missiles at our guys, we're going back. Yeah, of course we're going back. And we're gonna fuck them up too. We're gonna kill Iranians because of it, right? But ultimately, not one American life is worth this. You know what I mean? If it was possible to just watch Israel do this from the sidelines or whatever, I kind of thought maybe that's what the plan was. Because like I said, no one really thought Trump, right, was gonna sit there for 2 weeks wondering what the decision was gonna be. Trump already had his mind made up that we were going to be striking in favor of Israel. The question was, when was the timing of it going to happen? And what it is, Trump waited. Obviously, Israel was pretty successful in their campaigns. They bombed out, like I said, a lot of these ballistic missile launching sites. They hit a lot of the air defenses. They hit a lot of the actual, like, nuclear scientists, shit like that. So they did a ton of infrastructure damage to Iran. They significantly weakened the country and its government's ability to respond to something like
Literally.
this. So from the U.S. perspective, you know,
Israel did precision missile strikes to get certain targeted people. Like, they were sending missiles at individuals. And Iran was bombing hospitals. Like, what are we doing?
this is like a free hit.
Which one do you think sounds more moral? Somebody throwing a missile at a hospital or somebody throwing missiles at a fucking military leader?
right? This is like if, you know, you're watching somebody like a one-on-one fight at the bar and the guy who's been shit-talking you the whole night, you know, you just go up and get you a sneak after he's already damn near knocked out. That's basically what we're doing. And in a way, you know, you could probably say, oh, that's cowardly or whatever, but that's exactly what's going on here. I guess the mantra of the entire thing is you strike your enemy when they're weak, but like I said, we're all just sitting here at home
We're literally kicking them when they're down.
hoping that this doesn't end up
It's so
leading to
disrespectful,
another
but that's how it has to
unforeseen
be, I guess.
decade-long disaster for the United States. Because we seem to have a history, a tendency of getting in these problems, especially in the Middle East, right? We always like to get our nose stuck into the wrong fucking bush or whatever. And next thing you know, yeah, we're in Afghanistan for 20 years. We're in Iraq for 15 years. Hopefully, we're just not in Iran for, you know, 20 years or whatever. So it finally happened. Like I said, we were just kind of waiting to see when it would. It has happened. Now we just play the waiting game and see how this goes from here. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, talking about the US bombing in Iran, and signing out.
Hey, bro.
Bro 99 hours and made a band, and it's finna get taxed, which will make it like $900.
Anyways, chat. I think I'm gonna take a nap. 'Cause I have to leave for work at like 7:30, and I really don't want to, but who's live right now? On twitch.tv. Chat, please stay in the chat for a raid, please. I'm gonna do a raid. I'll raid Katana. Please don't go yet. I'm gonna do a raid. Please follow this person.